you have to be on the board, don't you? A very good evening, everybody. This is Gulf Harbour Radio, ZMH286, Patricia and David. And I was going to tell you it was 100% cloud cover, but now it's down to about 95% cloud cover. Here we've had yet another, and I guess you people understand it because you're not having exactly a tropical time up there, but we've had another blustery day, but wind has dropped at the moment to about 7 to 12 knots. From the west-southwest, the barometer's going up 1020. And it's 17 degrees outside, which is about as good as it has got all day. It is just one of those, well, we're having this very disturbed weather, which I'm sure you know all about because it's impossible to tell what's happening from one day to the next. It's springtime, says David. Yes, it is springtime, and that's, I guess, what we expect. Wind shift, they've had shifty winds there too, but they've got to the 30-degree mark, so I guess they'll be happy. This was an hour ago. The seas are about 3.3 metres, so that's not doing them much good, and just gusty, squally showers. But they saw an albatross. I don't know whether an albatross is good luck or bad luck. I suppose if you don't shoot it, it's good luck.
Definitely don't shoot it.
Definitely don't shoot it. Anyway, they're doing 5.4 on a course of 122. This is before the wind shifts backwards. Southwest wind at the moment 10 to 15, and they are at 3014. Well, they were an hour ago, so they've passed that now. 17444 east. So let's see if we can raise Mintaka tonight. Mintaka, Gulf Harbour. Well, nothing heard from them. I hope, well, I'm going to tell you a story later on as to why we didn't copy anything from Rafiki. We've got a few other boats out there, but what I think we'll do is go to David with an update of what's happening, which will probably last about 5 minutes before it changes, and then we'll go back to boats. Here's David.
Well, that's not too far from the truth. 5 minutes, the models do change, yeah. Well, they change every minute, actually. They go minute by minute. Anyway, the prog for the promised tropical depression that we've been talking about, but anyway, we talked about its position for Thursday, tomorrow. And it, right now, the prog has it lying just to the southwest of Kendavu, which is what we said yesterday. And it still seems to be the case that not a whole lot has changed, at least as far as GFS is concerned. Now, EC, on the other hand, EC has got a depression as well, but they are calling it directly over Fiji Thursday, actually Thursday into Friday. Either way, wherever that tropical depression happens to be, the isobars to the south of Fiji are going to be squeezed. So there's going to be plenty of wind to deal with, all the way down to at least 25 south and maybe 28 south. And there'll be gale force in the gusts. I'm pretty sure of that. Now, by lunch on Saturday, we'll take a gamble here and look forward a few more days. And that's the 19th, I believe. GFS has the now subtropical depression at 26 and 175 west, 26 south, 26 south, 175 west. However, EC calls for the center to be at 20 south and 177 west. Now, they're not in agreement, and they haven't been in agreement for the last couple of weeks. They both are calling off the depression to form. They just don't agree exactly on the timing, nor exactly where it's going to be. So one would hope that the models would be doing a little bit better than that with such a short period of time, but in this case they're not. They're having a real struggle with the atmosphere at the moment. Now, if you're on Rumline to New Zealand and you were at 25 south on Saturday, again the 19th, Saturday the 19th, and you're at 25 south, winds look to be gale force by EC but just moderate southerlies for GFS. So depending upon what kind of conditions you want, you should root for that particular model. Now, if you are at 30 south on the 19th, GFS thinks that you're going to have 20 knots out of the southeast. However, EC is calling off easterlies up to 25 knots. So they're getting closer, believe it or not, in regards to that. Now, both models finally show the depression moving to the southeast, out of the way for all of the yachts en route. So that's a good thing. You'll remember a week ago almost, we didn't know which way that it was going to go. Some models thought it was going to swing and head toward New Zealand. Others thought it would do an arc to the southeast and head off in that direction. So now it seems like four of them at least are starting to agree on the direction it's going to go. Anyway, the next New Zealand depression is in the mid-Tasman on Tuesday, but its cold front is going to impact the North Island, I'm afraid. Winds are expected to be up to gale force by 4 models. 4 models are in agreement with this. So this is Tuesday.
The date?
And Tuesday is, what is Tuesday? That's the 22nd. Tuesday the 22nd. So expect the cold front to just start hitting the North Island of New Zealand and the axis of it just a few hours later. And in and around the axis, we're looking at gale force winds. So not fun. So you really don't want to be arriving at about that time. Now that could change. So we'll see what it's got to say, what they have got to say tomorrow. Although I will have to comment that that Tuesday time frame actually has been in the cards for a while. So the odds are looking better that that's going to be the case. So let's hope that all of you yachts that are en route make it in before that, or otherwise catch the cold front a little bit further north when it will have less impact. That's it from me, and we'll check again tomorrow, and we'll see what the models have done in changing their minds again. So with that, here's the chief.
Okay, thank you for that. And I see the streaming is working because Sailing Vessel Dash, I was going to call them for a radio check, but they don't seem to be getting the SSB working. So you've got time to work on it, Mike. All right, is there anybody out there? I do have an interesting story while you're all waiting for decent weather to depart. A very interesting story from Rafiki. It has a happy ending, but it's a very interesting one to look at what can possibly happen on a passage. But first of all, is there anybody out there? We have a couple of boats that we're thinking of going, and I don't see that they have gone, but is there anybody out there wanting to call in? Please call now. No, sensibly taking their time to evaluate the weather. Well, you will remember last week we were calling Rafiki. They called in, Lance, what the crew on board was calling in for a couple of days, but then something happened and we didn't hear from them. They had a good trip, in fact, until they were about 300 miles out of Fiji, and then in the early night watch, Rafiki hit something and lost steerage and control of the boat. It took some time to get the sails down and work out what was happening. There was no steerage because the rudder was jammed. A centerboard on one hull, they're a catamaran, one hull had been broken by whatever they hit, which had then gone on to bend the rudder up so it was jammed into the hull. And there was no way of disconnecting the two rudders. Even with 2 crews standing on the wheel spokes, they couldn't budge it. But using the hydraulic auto helm, they got the rudders amidship, and then the following day Lance and another crew member went overboard, and they took a whole day to saw away the rudder and the damaged centerboard. So during this time they were drifting for about 36 hours, and fortunately the weather was pretty decent. They still had limited rudder steerage but got some direction by using the engines at different revs, and that's how they managed the rest of the journey. So quite a remarkable effort of seamanship to be able to, without any outside help whatsoever, get the boat sorted into a way that they could then use it to get back. And they just didn't have time for the radio, and when they did, there was the solar flare problem, so we didn't hear from them until they were a couple of hundred miles out of New Zealand. But it just goes to show, folks, what can happen and what you need to have on board prepared for. They certainly had what was necessary, including the crew.
A good hacksaw.
A good hacksaw, says David. Okay, well, that was an interesting and sobering lesson there. So you've got plenty to do to get your boat ready before we can find some decent weather. And boy, it sure is changeable. So once you get your plan day by day and you are happy with what you've got, boy, you really need to keep to that plan and not dilly-dally in the ocean when things are light or go in the wrong direction or whatever. I'm glad we don't have to worry about this. Sometimes it's quite nice not being, although I do miss the tropics. Okay, I'll just see if Flying Cloud is out there. Flying Cloud, Gulf Harbour. No, nothing heard. And poor old Mike, well, we know that Dash is busy doing something. Right, well, there's nothing much more from here, nothing from Mintaka, but they are on their way, as are a few other boats. I'm not sure why we're not hearing from them. They were planning to check in. I'm just going to go to, I think it's still fairly late, the last position. The AIS has been a bit of a problem, actually. It's been quite slow in one part of the Southern Ocean there, and just looking, sorry, to in Mintaka, I have to put in their thing. I won't give you the position though, because a few minutes ago it was fairly late. All right, nothing much more from here. Is there anybody with anything? Otherwise, we will be back again tomorrow night. Okay, nothing heard. This is Gulf Harbour Radio, and we are clear.